What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Gimme presented by Bet365. Why do we call it the Gimme? You know why? Because it's good, and hopefully it'll be good again this week as we go to Japan, figuratively, for the ZOZO Championship at Narashino Country Club for the fourth time in the last 5 years. They came over to the U.S. at one point during COVID, but this will be the fourth edition of the event in Japan. Quick PSA before we start, 7:45 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday night is your opening tee time. So if you're one of those that likes to procrastinate, likes to watch the Gimme 6 or 7 times to get a feel for all the picks and write down all your notes, get it in early this week or else you're going to miss out. All right, I'm Jason Sobel. He is Derek Farnsworth from Roto Grinders. Over the next little bit, we're going to give you our favorite outrights, props, matchups, first-round leader plays, and so much more. But before we get there, we've got to tell you all about Bet365 because the Gimme, we're presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than anyone else. Every day, they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays. And they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. I have to say that in my incredible Super Boost voice. Check out the boost and see why. It's never ordinary at Bet365, 21 and older only, or 18 plus in Kentucky. Must be present in Colorado, Iowa, Kentucky, New Jersey, Ohio, and Virginia. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in Colorado, Kentucky, New Jersey, Ohio, or Virginia, or 1-800-BITS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, and restrictions apply. We get to the top of the odds board this week at Bet365. And Derek, we find Xander Schauffele at plus 700, Colin Morikawa plus 1100, Sanjay at 12-1, Hideki Matsuyama, who's won here before, Ricky Fowler, Minwoo Lee, all at 16-1. Any of those prices near the top surprise you at all?
Not necessarily surprising, and I do like a lot of those names, but I don't like their prices, which makes it tough. But yeah, I really like this event. It's obviously where Tiger Woods won in 2019 after bogeying his first 3 holes. I think the trophy's pretty cool, the big circle trophy. I like that we get to watch in prime time. So yeah, I'm excited for the week. And my first bet, I'm going a little deeper odds this week. I'm going to Alex Noren plus 5,500, going 15 of my portfolio on that. He struggled pretty much the entire spring, most of the summer. Finally found a little bit of something towards the end of the summer, especially with the starts over there in Europe. And then came over to Las Vegas at the Shriners, finished T3, and he gained 10.5 strokes ball tee to green. So one of his best tee to green performances in a long time. He's comfortable playing all over the world. And he finished T18 here in his lone appearance. So I like that number and don't mind sprinkling a little bit on plus 5,500.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Came really close last week as well. So he's playing some good golf right now. I think maybe a little inspired by the European Ryder Cup team. He's a former Ryder Cupper himself and obviously did not have the stuff to even get considered for the team this year. But sometimes that can be a nice little inspiration. All right, you mentioned the top of the board has some very short numbers on it. This is one of those choose your fighter weeks. There's only 78 players in this limited field. You can't play all of them. They all look pretty good. They all sound pretty good. They can all win. That's why they have short numbers, but you can't take them all. I'm only going to go with one of the guys in this top tier. It's my first play, Minwoo Lee. Opened up in some books at 22-1, as mentioned, now down to 16-1 at Bet365. Hope you jumped in early, but I still think it's a pretty good number. This is a guy who's coming. I'm telling you guys, I mean, we talk about the best young players in the world right now, your Ludwig Oberts and your Tom Kims and your Sahith Theegalas and so many more really good, talented young players. Minwoo Lee is coming. He's got finishes of 21st or better in each of the 4 major championships and the Players' Championship over the last 2 years. He won this past week on the Asian Tour. I'm not sure, Noto, why he's playing the SJM Macau Open, but if he's going to go over there, you might as well go win it. 4 rounds of 65 or better. That can't be a bad thing coming into this one. He's a big game hunter. I like the fact that he's playing against some of the bigger names there. Could be a big week for Minwoo Lee.
Yeah, I love the pick. And with that ball speed, I mean, you got a lot of long par fours, a lot of long par fives on this course. I think that's going to come in handy, especially with some of those long irons. So definitely like that pick. For my second, I'm going to go with the guy that burned us both last week at the Shriners. We talked about it before the show. That's Adam Schenk. He did miss the cut, but I think it was on the number, maybe by 2 strokes. He ended up gaining strokes ball striking in that start, so I'm not too worried about it. And since the start of March, he has 7 top 10 finishes. He's played here 3 times. He hasn't finished outside of the top 30. So I like the way his game is trending. He's top 11 in this field in strokes gained approach and strokes gained putting, which is if you can marry those two together on the same week, you're just going to gain a lot of strokes on the field. So I think he's interesting at plus 4,500. I'm putting $15 on that myself.
I like that a lot. Years ago, I was speaking with the PGA Tour pro about gambling and gambling on golf. And obviously, this pro doesn't gamble on golf himself because he's a player, but he's like, I think that once you figure out you like a guy, you should probably keep playing him because there's a reason you liked him in the first place. And I'm like, yeah, except it's real hard when he burns you one week.
Yeah.
You want to jump off and abandon ship the next week, but we all know how that goes. So I actually really like backing a guy that you liked. And you look at what Shank did last week. 5 birdies in the first round. We made 6 bogeys. You can't do that in Vegas where everybody's going low. The ball striking was fantastic on Friday. Just started behind the 8 ball to start that round and missed the cut. It's still, that's the one outlier, was a somewhat poor Thursday round with a lot of bogeys. Who cares? Move forward. And I do like that play for this week because he has some win equity. I'm going to go to a guy with my second outright play. He's got some win equity himself, has 3 wins on the tour. When you talk high ceiling, low floor, there's no one who embodies this more than Cameron Champ. You can get him at 45-1 this week. There was something I really liked about him last week. Now, I had him for a first round leader play. He missed a 7-foot birdie putt on his final hole of the first round to fall 1 behind Bo Hostler. He was the leader after the second round. Shout out to my buddy I was playing golf with who looked at his app on Friday afternoon and said, hey, your guy Cameron Champ is leading now. That's good, right? I'm like, it doesn't work that way. Sorry. Yeah, the ticket doesn't go over for the next day. That said, what I really liked was what he said after that opening round, where he said, I'm just in a way better headspace, more free-spirited, just kind of loving myself out there, having fun, and enjoying the ups and downs. He's a new father. This is a player who, over the last few years, seems like a guy who knows that he has the talent and skill to win on the PGA Tour because he's done it, but often just looks like a guy who's miserable and looks like he doesn't want to be out there. With that newfound mindset, this is something that Wyndham Clark went through. This is something that Max Homa did years ago. And these guys have become world-class players. It's a short-term play on Cameron Champ this week. Obviously, an outright on him to win this tournament, 45-1, 15% of the portfolio. But really, I would like to make a long-term play on Cameron Champ. Don't be surprised if he has a breakthrough season in 2024. If you're doing one of those season-long fantasy pools, like he's a guy you pick a round too early rather than waiting and not getting him if you try to take him around too late. Talking about this golf course a little bit, Narashino Country Club, 7,079 yards, par 70. As I mentioned earlier, they've held this event 3 times previously. Your winners, guy named Tiger Woods, local hero Hideki Matsuyama, and last year's winner, Keegan Bradley, who we'll talk about in a little bit. What do they all have in common? Very, very, very elite level ball strikers. So we're looking for guys who can hit it, see the green. In player finishing position market this week, we're going to buy one, we're going to sell one. Who are you buying, Noto?
All right, I'm buying the guy that I'm also betting on outright. So doubling down, which typically doesn't end well, but I'm doing it anyway. I'm going with Adam Schenk, 27th or better, for $15. And really, I just need him to play the same way he has here the last 3 times. He's finished T16, T28, T22. You mentioned the ball striking. He's 11th in the field in ball striking over the last 6 months. So I think it's a good course fit. And yeah, I like the way he's playing. And I'm throwing out the 1 missed cut from last week.
Yep. So on the Links and Locks podcast this week, I brought up 2 players that I wanted to buy in this player finishing position market. One of them was Adam Schenk. Since you took him there, I'm going to go with the other one here. I'll go with Tom Hoge at 33rd or better, who essentially was very much like Adam Schenk last week, which means he was trending in the right direction. The ball striking was really good. He had one sort of mediocre round which one mediocre round in Las Vegas means you're going home on Friday evening. And so I look at that as more the outlier. He's playing some good golf. 33rd or better in a 78-man field. Just has to be essentially top 40% at minus 120. Only $5 from the portfolio, but he's been top 33 in 5 of his last 9 starts, and he was top 10 at this one last year. It's a lot harder to find somebody to sell. Find somebody.
Well, before we get there, do we know if there's any casinos in the general area of this golf course? Because Tom Hoagie, you never know when he's gonna hit those late night crap stables. But
Nice. That's right.
But okay, so I love coming on the show. The thing I don't love is doing the sell pick. I never get it right. And last time I was on, I said, you know what, I'm going to sell Luke List. I don't think he can putt well enough in a birdie fest. And he not only putted well, he made like a 50-footer to win in a playoff. So big warning with this pick. You might just want to bet him outright. I'm going Ben Griffin, 33rd or worse. He's just one of the worst off the tee, and I think you can get into some trouble this week, especially on those longer holes. He did miss the cut last week at the Shriners, and we kind of fell apart there on the back nine at the Sanderson. So I worry about that. Just worry about his off the tee numbers. But yeah, again, I'm not putting any of my actual money on this. I'm putting $5 of my pretend money on this.
So look, some people might say, oh man, you faded Luke List and he won the golf tournament. You got it wrong. The way I look at it is Luke List, obviously watching the Gimme, fired up after he saw you call him out and goes out and wins the golf tournament just to spite you. And I think I faded him that week as well. So obviously, we're just providing some refrigerator material for him. So you're welcome, Luke List. We helped you out there. Again, same as you. Like for the monopoly money here on the show, I'll throw 5% on Kurt Kitayama, and this is essentially just a play based on recent form. Kitayama has finished outside the top 34 in each of his last 7 starts. The guy's really good in tough conditions. We saw at Bay Hill. He can get hot in a hurry, but he's not hot right now. And so I'm just playing him to finish outside that top 34 once again. But yeah, it's a tough sell, especially in a limited field like this week. Let's get to our favorite props this week. Where are you going with yours?
I'm going to go with Cam Davis to finish in the top 10 at plus 210. Going to be my biggest bet of the week at $20. And he's just locked in right now. He's gained off the tee in 7 of his last 8. He's gained on approach in 7 straight. If you look at his game log, he's finished in the top 10 in 5 of his last 6 starts. He tends to play these shorter courses really well. And driving distance, ball striking, all of these things kind of check the box. And I just think he's in a really good spot right now. So I'll take him to finish in the top 10.
I like that a lot. I've also got a Davis play in just a minute that we'll get to, but I am also throwing the most money of any bet this week in my portfolio on my prop play, another top 10. I'm going with Sanjay M. I know, Derek, you like Sanjay for an outright until that number just got too short, and I tend to agree with you, but look, the weight lifted from his shoulders after winning gold with Siwoo Kim at the Asian Games, his mandatory military service in South Korea was going to be something in the range of 2 years. Now it'll be about 2 weeks. I mean, you talk about being able to play a little freer and easier. He did play last week in Korea, finished in 2nd place. So the game's in good shape right now. He was 3rd here 4 years ago. So the course obviously fits him. It's 130. It's not one that's going to make you a ton. There's not a lottery ticket type play, but this is a build up the bankroll type of prop. So I do like Sanjay at plus money for a top 10 again in a shorter field. How about a matchup this week?
Yeah, when I bet on matchups, I kind of look for guys that are consistent rather than guys that are volatile. So I like JJ Spawn over Justin Suh. Spawn's been in really good form, finished T25 at this event last year. And Justin Suh, his biggest weapon is his putter, and he's lost strokes putting in each of his last 2 starts. And when that happens, he is not going to play well because he's not very good off the tee. He's lost on approach in 5 of 6. He's lost around the green in 6 straight. We're kind of expecting some big wins on Thursday and Friday too. So I think that short game is going to be important. So I'll take the guy that kind of doesn't have a weakness in JJ Spawn.
Yeah, I like that. Justin Suh is a guy that I really like, but you're right. He's just not in form right now. All right. You mentioned Cam Davis a minute ago. I'm going to take Cam Davis here over Sahith Theegala. It hurts me. It hurts my heart to go against my boy Theegala, but I can get Davis at even money coming off a 7th place finish in Vegas last week. at a golf course and a tournament that he doesn't necessarily like that much. So I always feel like that's a really good sign when it's a guy going to a place that isn't like one of his favorites, isn't a place where you expect him to go play well, and he plays really well. That just means even bigger and better things when he goes to one like this. Remember, Cam Davis was 50th on the FedEx Cup points list at the end of the original regular season. And so he's in all these signature events next year. He doesn't have a care in the world other than let's go to Japan and go win a golf tournament. I like that mindset. So I'm on Davis over Thigala. And you made a good point, Derek. The fact that even though Davis is a long hitter, really good driver of the golf ball, tends to play some of his better golf on short courses. So this one sub 7,100 yards should be pretty good for him. All right, let's get to the gimme prop this week at Bet365. This is a good one. And we boosted this one. This might be a little self-fulfilling here, but we boosted this one because maybe somebody here really liked the play. Keegan Bradley, your defending champion, who may have something to prove to some of his fellow Americans. Not all. I think a lot of American golf fans understand exactly what Keegan brings to a potential team, but there was at least a few who didn't find him worthy of being on the U.S. team this year and playing his first event since the Ryder Cup. Obviously, he was home for that. Maybe, again, just something to prove. He posted a low one last year in the opening round on his way to winning this golf tournament. Boosted from 28-1 to 33-1. Derek, I was all over it at 28. I was taking 28. But you're going to give me 5 more points that way? Sure, I'll buy. Why not?
Yeah, I'll add it to the card. I can't tell you how many times I've played Keegan over the years, and he's first at the end of round one, and then might miss the cut after round two. But I don't have to worry about that with the first round leader or with this event in general. I'm going to go with Minwoo Lee. You already have an outright on him. You mentioned he's coming off the win off the Asian Tour, and I just like the way he bombs it and he puts it really well. That tends to lead to a lot of low rounds, and so I'm hoping he can get off to a good start, carry some of that momentum from last week into this week, and he is at plus 2,500 right now.
I may jump on some of that Minwoo too, because I'd hate to have what happens with you with Keegan happen to me with Minwoo, where I've got the outright and he's first round leader and then doesn't cash the outright ticket. So it makes sense to jump on Thursday as well. All right. We're almost done here. We're going to make our one and done picks. Where are you going with yours?
Yeah, it's kind of a tough one because you don't really want to burn any of the big names. You want to save Xander for one of the bigger tournaments. So I'm going to go with Cam Davis. I just don't know how long this form is going to last. I mean, he's playing great each and every week. Most of these guys, there's hills and valleys throughout the course of the season. So I'm going to try to take him when he's playing his best. And I think it's a pretty good course fit for him as well.
Yeah, so I usually, with the one and done pick at the end of the show here, it's usually a sort of a repeat of somebody that we either played outright or had a prop on. It's usually not a name that we haven't mentioned, but I'm going to take this spot to mention a name that I wrote about in my preview this week, because I always give an outright play with short odds and then an outright play with longer odds. My outright play with longer odds isn't usually as long as it is this week, but Ryo Ishikawa, who you can find at 350-1 in some books. I'm telling you, look, this is not a bet the mortgage kind of bet, but Ishikawa, yes, the same Ryo Ishikawa that 12 years ago was playing on the PGA Tour. He had this huge media contingent. Japanese reporters and photographers were following him around by the dozens from week to week, tournament to tournament. He was called the Bashful Prince. I don't think he kind of loved being in the spotlight that much. He's now 32 years old, plays 98% of his golf in his native Japan. So he's in, sort of got the home field advantage this week. And he's playing some good golf. Runner up in his last start, top 20 in 5 of his last 7. Again, a little sprinkle for an outright. Look, you don't have to talk me into a 350-1 play if I like it even just a little bit. And then for a one and done, look, he's going to make the cut. Everybody makes the cut. If he plays really well, you're getting a leg up on everybody else who's not taking him. If he plays pretty well, oh well, you don't burn him. You're not going to use him anywhere else. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to Ishikawa here and use this spot to talk about him a little bit. Let's recap all of our plays. Noto's got Alex Noren, Adam Schenk outrights. He's buying Schenk. He's selling Griffin, a prop on Cam Davis, matchup JJ Spawn, and first round leader play on Minwoo Lee. I've got Minwoo Lee for an outright along with Cameron Champ. Buying Hoagie, selling Kitayama, a prop on Sungjae Im, matchup on Cam Davis, and Keegan Bradley for my boosted first round leader play. Guys, that's all we got. Appreciate y'all watching this episode of the Gimme presented by Bet365. Remember, you can find more content this week, every other week, actionnetwork.com, the Action app, and all the Derek stuff over at Roto Grinders. For Derek Farnsworth, I'm Jason Sobel. Good luck with all of your ZOZO Championship bets. Here's hoping you guys hit the green.